Hello everyone and welcome back to the Opera Euro Rapid Tournament. We are in the third day of the third game, and it's Ding Liren versus Magnus Carlsen. It's been a while since we've seen a game by Ding, so very happy to check up on what's he been up to. And now Magnus is leading the tournament. He has the black pieces against Ding, and in this game he decides to go full barbarian mode against Ding, and well, let's just see what happens. So Ding with the white pieces opens with d4. We have knight to f6 by Magnus, c4, e6, knight to f3, and now a6. Magnus goes for the Dzindzikhashvili Indian defense, or the Dzinji Indian. We have knight to c3 and now bishop to b4. So just developing pieces. We have bishop to g5 and now h6, chasing back the bishop. Bishop to h4, and now there are a few moves that were played in this position, but the move Magnus plays is a new move. So let's see what happens here. It is as of move 7 that we have a completely new game, or rather as of move 6. He plays b6. And e3 now. Ding prepares to develop his light square bishop. We have bishop to b7 and bishop to d3. And now Magnus is doing very well in development. He already developed the light square bishop, the dark square bishop, but he will not, he's down a tempo, so he will not be gaining control of the e4 square. So Ding will not be gaining control of the e4 square, and now Magnus eliminates on c3 to make sure of that. So captures, and now he has control of the e4 square for the moment. So d6, we have castles, knight to b7, and now knight to d2. Here Ding is preparing to push f4, but Magnus doesn't like that, so he pushes g5 instead. It weakens the king side, and it's not at all clear now where Magnus will go with his king. Maybe queen to e7 followed by castles on the queen side. Who knows, maybe the king will remain in the center of the board. So here g5, bishop back to g3, and now even h5 by Magnus. So going full barbarian mode, preparing to trap that bishop with h4. So h3 by Ding, making some room for the bishop, and now h4. So the bishop is under attack, bishop to h2, and now Magnus goes forward with g4. So it's just a pawn sacrifice to open up the g file. He is preparing to play queen e7, castles queenside, and then bring the other rook into the game. And Ding, of course, accepts this because there's really no other option. You do not allow g captures on h3 to ever happen. So here h captures on g4. h3 by Magnus, now hoping to open up the h file, but Ding says nope, we're just gonna play g3. And now Ding won a pawn, but he has a bishop here on h2 stuck, and it's unclear when this bishop will come into the game. So it is a pawn sacrifice, and the computers really don't like Carlsen's decision, but it's often hard to evaluate when this bishop will be able to come into play, and is white even better here? So let's see what happens. We have rook to g8 now, going after the g4 pawn, and Ding defends it with f3. We have queen to e7, Magnus now preparing to castle queenside, and e4 now by Ding. We have castles queenside, and now rook to f2. Probably to take control of the second rank, and then it's going to be easy to either shift this rook to f1 or maybe get this rook to b1 and this rook to b2, so you can double up on either side of the board depending on what Magnus plays. So here we have knight back to h7, and now comes a4. So going after that queen side, a5 is an idea, c5 is an idea, so a lot of breakthroughs here are possible. So Magnus prevents the a5 one, but now before striking with c5, Ding first wants to prepare it. So he goes rook to b1. We have rook d to e8 by Magnus, and now comes knight to f1. Here there was the possibility of playing e5 right away because the knight on h7 is undefended. For some reason Ding didn't like this, maybe because of f6, and then after captures, for example c captures, it seems that black is kind of holding, but it looks incredibly difficult to hold. This knight stuck defending this, the queen defending the knight here, so the bishop cannot capture. But c5, it just feels like c5 will just break through the position. And when this bishop comes alive, once you start pushing some of those pawns, if this was, of course, a classical position, Ding would not hesitate a second, but as it is a rapid game, you can't afford all that much time to calculate. Ding says, okay, we always have these breakthroughs in the position, so let's just keep it solid. So knight to f1, and now Magnus decides to sacrifice the pawn with f5. He wants to open up some lines towards Ding's king. We have e captures, that's not an e captures on e5, e captures and bishop captures on f5. And now king to b8 maybe could be an idea, as you don't want this knight pinned forever, but Magnus just goes in with knight to g5. So let's see what happens here. Ding goes for c5. Again, there's constantly a theme in this game where f4 can be played, because where are you going with this knight? That's the question. And the problem with knight to e4, although black has control of the e4 square, is that rook to e2. And now what do you play here? The knight is definitely not in a favorable position. The rook is facing the queen, so after queen f7, you're going to play queen c2, add a third attacker here, and now after knight f6, you're going to play rook b to e1, and you're going to now control the e file. It's going to be a very strong position for white. But again, a lot to consider here. It's a rapid game, so now Ding goes for it with c5. He says there's time for that. So Magnus goes king to b8, unpins here, so now the knight is defending the b pawn, and here just c captures on b6. We have knight captures on b6, and now d5. Ding closes up Carlsen's light square bishop. I will, however, mention that there was the very interesting c4 idea here, now just preparing to completely shatter Carlsen's queen side. The idea is that if the knight is accepted, then f4 is truly amazing. For example, knight e4, rook e2 goes after the knight, and after d5 defending, now queen to b3. Threatening checkmate, and after you defend against checkmate, now bishop captures, d captures, and now knight to e3. And again, we have we can triple here on the b file. We can play knight to c4. There are a lot of possibilities here, and it's just going to be a very nice attack for Ding. But okay, Ding says there's always time for that. Let's not overcalculate. He plays d5. And now bishop to a6. And time-wise, Ding has some 8 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock, whereas Carlsen has 5 minutes on the clock. So let's see what happens here. We have queen to d4 by Ding. Now with the idea of playing rook captures here and just shattering the queen side, maybe not right away, maybe you want to prepare it a little bit more, bring this rook into the game as well. And here queen to g7 would in fact be a plausible defensive idea. Now you don't really gain anything by capturing, because after all the trades here, after all the trades happen, captures, captures, and captures, there's still queen b7 defending, so it's not a problem. So here, after queen to d4, this was possible, but Magnus decides to defend with king to a7. Now he can also bring the rooks to help out with the defense, but now it is a lost position for Magnus, and it's actually lost in one move. So feel free to pause the video and win this game for Ding while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on you know, spotting that win in one move. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's actually f4. And f4 just, you know, completely destroys black. You never want to go back with knight to h7. If you go knight back to h7, then it's just, you know, free mounting for white. Rook f to b2, going after rook captures knight. And now there's not much to be done here. Rook goes here, and then you can start pushing those pawns. g5 and so on. Not a move here for black to be made, and it's just going to be a very slow death for black. So instead, Magnus decided to go for knight to e4, sort of a bit of a more active move, but now I don't even have to tell you what Ding played. Of course, Ding pinned the knight, and now there is no way for you to add any more defenders. So here, Magnus just went for knight captures on f2, and he sacrificed his queen for an attempt at a mating attack. Ding, of course, accepts the queen. We have rook captures on e7, and now a very important move by Ding: do not capture with the queen. If you capture with the queen, then Magnus indeed has rook to e2. And now after the queen moves, you're going to get rook to e1, and now white is in a lot of trouble here. Because Magnus is now threatening rook captures with checkmate, and you would have to, you know, try something like king h1, give up the knight, so you have defense with bishop to g1. That's very ugly. So instead, Ding played king captures on f2, and now you are most certainly defending. Magnus played rook to e2 check, king f3, and now rook g to e8. But here Ding said that's really not much of a problem. We have bishop to d3. He wants to eliminate Carlsen's very strong bishop here. Bishop captures, queen captures, and now comes rook to g2 by Magnus, saying that, okay, maybe now your pieces are a bit tied down, maybe I can bring my rook to e2. But here, Ding just looked at the position, he played g5, and it was in this position, on move 36, that Magnus Carlsen resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Those pawns are just marching forward, and any idea here doesn't really work. There's no way for you to bring any of your pieces into the game. So I don't know. Yeah, if you try something like this to deliver checkmate here, it simply doesn't work, because white would happily give up the queen for both rooks, and then you just push the g pawn to victory. So as there's nothing more to be done here, Magnus resigns, and a brilliant victory for Ding Liren against world champion Magnus Carlsen. But I thought it was just really funny, and it's so great that of course Magnus is already qualified for the main event, and he can just, you know, afford to go all out with the black pieces against such a monster like Ding Liren. And then we get exciting games like this. So very happy that, you know, everyone is in good spirits. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Sebastian Van Heck, Gerald Watts, Forrest Williams, Diego Barrero, and Joseph Bassett for contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this very nice event, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.